to the Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast with your hosts, Kyle Borganoni and Matthew Betz.
Welcome back. Another episode of the Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, and I am joined, as always, by Matthew, former Cowboys fan, Betz.
America's team, my team. Love the Cowboys. For just one more day. And then it's all Eagles, baby. Yeah, fun matchup. We're going to preview that one today. Eagles and Cowboys. A lot of factors at play here, Kyle. I don't know if you've seen. Eagles are wearing their Kelly Greens.
Ooh, that is big.
Which is huge for the spread here. And of course, we have more drama between Hurts and the media, and it's fun. It's a great time of year. I cannot wait for this slate. Like, legit love this slate for DFS. So I'm super excited to break it down. There's 4 or 5 games that I really, really want to stack up. So I'm excited to talk about it. I think there's a lot of good angles for GPPs.
I am hyped about that game as well. And I'm kind of hyped. So I've enjoyed the Eagles. Through our friendship, I get to learn more and more about what it's like to live in Pennsylvania and, just exist there. And then last night, I watched Invincible, the Mark Wahlberg movie.
Oh, yeah.
Just,
Did you like it?
It was fine. It was, it was okay. It's just nice to see what the Philly faithful's like. And, just those rabble-rousers, those people. And I also just have a soft spot in my heart for a lot of Alabama players. My sister went to Alabama. So, yeah, there's just a lot of players in the Eagles that I root for. But I think I want better DFS, like a better game environment than just the Eagles to win. So I might be rooting for the Cowboys.
I did want to note that you said on Tuesday, run, don't walk, to your local bookie.
Oh, it's a lock?
And you said, +3.5, our Cowboys at home. The line has moved. I am now mostly seeing on most spots, it is down to -3.
Oh, man.
I mean, if you want to feed the kids closing line value tonight, Kyle, that is money.
Moving the lines.
Yeah, I moved some money over from the kids' college funds just to hammer that half a point, just to make a point to the bookmakers and just to kind of show them. They're like, okay, we'll do this. That's what it is. I did a little research, Betz, because we have some special episodes coming up. Next week, we have our Thanksgiving schedule. So Tuesday's podcast, we'll reiterate this later, but Tuesday's podcast is all about the Thanksgiving Day slate. So we'll be talking about those games exclusively. We won't be previewing the main slate and doing all that other stuff. It will be exclusively the Thanksgiving slate. And then all of our content in the DFS Pass, all of our picks for DraftKings and FanDuel, I will write a pace of play specifically for the Thanksgiving slate. That'll all be on Tuesday and Wednesday that comes out for the games on Thursday. And then Betz and I will do the very, very stupid task of recording a podcast early after I have stayed up all night the night before, researching for the Megalodon for the main slate, which comes out a week from this podcast. So next week's schedule is jumbled.
Are you mentally prepared?
I am mentally prepared because I ran the numbers and I even figured out how many episodes we've missed. I missed this highlight. We have done 307 episodes on the DFS podcast, DFS and Betting Podcast together since 2020.
Wow. That's a lot of shows, man.
There was a stretch, you've had kids a couple of times, so you had to miss an episode here or there, but there was a stretch, Betz, where I think you did not miss an episode for an entire calendar year.
I am committed, Kyle. I love the listeners. I love the show. I give everything, man. You can't take me off the field. I'm here for you guys.
Other than me going to the beach in October, I'm here. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'll solo pod if I need to.
You did do that once. I think last time we had Collins, our third. Dude, that's crazy. 307 episodes, and we've only missed a handful. That's wild.
Yeah. So it's been good. And then next week's episode's probably one of our favorites. One of our favorite things that we get to do is preview the Thanksgiving slate. So that'll be next week's schedule. If you want all of our content, dfspass.com, use the promo code DFSPod. And yeah, we'll have a lot of good stuff. Get to share some stuff about our schedule with our family, but then also highlight those 3 games. So we'll talk about that next week. But we are here for week 12.
Straight cash, homie.
All right, let's go through our favorite plays as of this recording. At quarterback, you can spend up for our boy Drake May, who's at 6.9. Did you see his response when people were telling him his stats and how he's leading the league and passing yards and all this passer rating, all this stuff? Did you see his response?
I did see. Very humble, down to earth. Seems like a good dude.
Yeah, he's just like, well, we haven't had our bye yet, so my counting, like a dude that understands counting stats and how that doesn't matters. I mean, come on. It's good stuff, man. 6.9 against a defense known as the Bengals, using air quotes there because they're still trying to figure that part out. Mahomes is 6.8. We will talk about that game as well. I think he's in a great spot. He's been crushing at home all year long. I feel like he's the safest route if you want to go there, but I do think the most popular route in cash formats this week where you're trying to be better than 50% of the field is Jacoby Brissett at 5.3.
Yeah, there's not really too much to say about Jacoby at this point. You kind of know what you're getting, which is absurd pass volume. In his starts, he is averaging over 40 pass attempts per game, and now he gets the Jaguars, which on the season, nobody has faced a higher pass rate of expectation defensively than Jacksonville at plus 6%. So I don't know what to say, man. Like, Jacoby's just going to chuck. I thought they would move his price up more aggressively. They just haven't, and he's underpriced. So kind of like last week, I think you're going to see a ton of Jacoby, Michael Wilson, Trey McBride. Like, the cash teams are going to be Jacoby doubles again. We'll talk more about how to handle that in tournaments, but yeah, I think it makes sense. The game environment's there, all that stuff. So I do like Jacoby a lot, and I really like spending up on, like, we'll talk about Gibbs here in a minute. Amon-Ra's in a great spot. And so if you want to fit some of these guys and spend up for Trey McBride, that's my only issue with Drake May is it's hard to fit him in those builds. So it's, again, we talk about that in cash every week. It's kind of a, if you do this, then you got to do that situation. I love Drake May this week. I think the Patriots can do whatever they want offensively. And if we get Joe Burrow on the other side of that game, which we still aren't sure about yet, then you could talk yourself into like, oh, I could really see this one going back and forth. So I do love May for tournaments. I think for cash, my lean is to spend down on Jacoby Brissett. That's where I'm at as of this recording.
It's really hard because I think there's, like, Jacoby feels like you can lock this in and that's what the field is going to do. And yet I see real ceiling outcomes in better game environments. Like, I still think Arizona and Jacksonville's a good spot. I even think Trevor Lawrence is a fine play in points per dollar as well. But those are our top three quarterbacks. I could also see myself talking up Jalen Hurts when we talk up that game too. I know that they have some offensive line issues, but it's a good tag at 6.6. Do you feel like the entire year, the one position they have not been aggressive enough about is on DraftKings is quarterback?
Yeah, for sure. And you think about like context on this slate is, Josh Allen played on Thursday. We're not going to have Stafford or Baker on Sunday Night Football. No Purdy, and there's a couple teams on bye. It's usually a slate where like the most expensive quarterback on DraftKings is like 7.1, 7.2. The last couple of weeks it's been Josh Allen at a flat 7K. So just in general, quarterback pricing across the board is depressed. And that's why I think it's a really good slate for tournaments is because there's a number of guys in this, 55-ish range on DraftKings up to Drake May at 6.9 that are in play. So while I love Jacoby and I think he's a very good play, I do think there's a lot of ways you can get off the board in tournaments. We'll talk about the spot for Mahomes here in a minute. We'll talk Drake May, obviously. We're not sure on Burrow, but we'll talk through that situation. Jalen Hurts, like you mentioned. There's a lot of ways you can go on this slate. But I do think, like we said, kind of when you boil it down on how to build optimally for cash, just comes back to Jacoby. And I do think at one of these stops along the way, like the bottom could fall out.
Yes.
Like he's a strict pocket passer that has gotten there on volume. At some point, I don't know when, at some point, it might not work. So I do think when you consider how you approach him for tournaments, because his price went up, McBride's price went up, Michael Wilson's price went up a full $1,000. At some point, they have to keep doing more and more than what they've done in the past. I'm not sure if we're there yet, but I do think from a game theory standpoint, there are ways that you can get different here. But again, for cash, I think Jacoby looks great.
At running back, we're not considering Jonathan Taylor at 10K. We talked about that on Tuesday's podcast. I don't think many people want to pay for him. We can talk about that for tournaments. If what would you need? How would that work in that game environment? But he will not be considered this week, despite how awesome he's been. Bijan Robinson at 8.5, Jahmyr Gibbs at 8.3. I do think one of those two will be in lineups. Right now, Gibbs is my favorite, and part of it is the matchup against the Giants. Part of it is I want to have a Lion in my cash lineup this week. I will not be having Gibbs and Amon-Ra, though. That's a decision point. Are you interested in that, like playing both of them? Or I know I'm playing at least one?
I think most weeks I would not want to do that, but you remove Sam Laporta and the touches are going to be both running backs, JMO and Amon-Ra. And this is a team that, like we talked about on Tuesday's show, I feel so confident Dan Campbell is going to come back home in this game and just run it up 35, 40 points. So I'm actually okay with it. And because of the fact that we won't have Jamar Chase, JSN is 9K. And if you wanted to get to him, by all means, please do. It's just that when you look at the spread at 13.5 against the Titans, is Cam Ward really going to fight back on the other side? Probably not. So Darnold might only drop back, 24, 25 times in this game. I think when you think about salary and how he kind of fits in at 8K for me from Amon-Ra, I'm totally cool with it. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, dude, this might be the best spot in the world for him. The Giants are dead last in yards per carry allowed to running backs. They are 29th in rushing touchdowns allowed to running backs. They're 32nd EPA per rush. They are 31st in success rate, and they are bottom 5 in explosive rush rate. I don't know how he doesn't get there outside of goal line vulture from Montgomery once one drive here or there, something like that. It's just a dream spot for Gibbs and the Lions offense in general. So I'm okay with both Gibbs and Amon-Ra personally.
Any interest in Montgomery? I know that Campbell came out and basically said, I want to get him more carries, which is always a hilarious thing when it's the coach. He has 0 carries inside the 5 the last 2 weeks. I do think that if you wanted to bet David Montgomery anytime touchdown, it's not the craziest thing in the world. But in cash, are you considering him at all?
I'm not considering him in cash. I do think he's a really good tournament play because he's, I think on DK is 5,300 if I'm not mistaken. I haven't seen his price on FanDuel. I'll try to look it up. But when you're thinking about him, can you get 50, 60 rushing yards and fall in the end zone twice? And at that salary, that might be enough. So I do think he's a pretty good tournament play, especially if you did want to get some leverage on Gibbs. And I do like your call there, anytime touchdown. The last time I saw the line, I was thinking about betting it as well. It's minus 105 on FanDuel. That seems like a pretty good price when usually these touchdown markets are kind of bogus. I do think that's a pretty good price. And Dan Campbell's kind of done this, right? They've talked about, we got to get JMO more involved, and then they do it. And then earlier in the year, it was, Laporta hasn't been involved. We got to give him the ball. And the next week they do it. Sometimes we hear that in the media and it's kind of okay, yeah, whatever. But Dan Campbell and his guys actually go about doing that. So I do like Montgomery quite a bit for tournaments.
All right. So other running backs that make a ton of sense this week, Travion Henderson, if he's the only guy, then at 6,700, that's fine. But on the other side of that game, it's Chase Brown at 6,200. Samaje Perine, is he officially out?
They said he's going to be doubtful. So yeah, he's not going to play.
Okay. So Chase Brown at 6.2 is a really great tag. He's been a top 15 running back each of the last 4 weeks. He's been really, really good. A couple weeks ago, it was 14 targets. I don't think you'll see something like that, but the workload's there. And he was a play last week. It is interesting. We're getting a lot of the same plays, Jacoby, Chase Brown, a lot of the same guys. But I think Chase Brown is just solid at his price point, and he'll be clicked a lot. I'm interested in how people handle Emmanuel Wilson if Josh Jacobs is out, obviously. He's only 5.3. It's at home against the Vikings. He's not the easiest click, if I'm just going to be honest, bias-wise. I'm just do I really want to click the, but he did see 71% of the snaps last week. It seems like they trust him as the guy behind Jacobs. So you could do worse there. I like ETN more, but it's a $600 gap between the two.
Yeah, we're still waiting on Baishal Tutin news. We're still waiting, obviously, on Josh Jacobs. We're still waiting on Jalen Warren. So if you're thinking about Kenneth Gainwell in that range as well against the Bears, there's a couple guys kind of floating around that price point that we're not sure who is going to be the cheap kind of cash running back. But I think we'll get maybe one of these guys, hopefully. But yeah, as of now, kind of just keep those guys in your pool. Kenneth Gainwell, Emmanuel Wilson. And just to kind of speak on Wilson, you mentioned, I think they trust him. I think they do too. He's kind of been the only other running back involved this year. For the most part, the other running back that will be active and kind of mix in a little bit would be Chris Brooks, but he's done virtually nothing in the NFL. So I do like the spot for Wilson. You think about LaFleur and the offense and kind of how they like to play, they're fine to they're fine to keep games close and run the ball and establish it and all that stuff. So I think whether it's in the pass game or as a rushing component here, I think Emmanuel Wilson's fine, especially at this salary. If it makes the other part of your lineup work, only 5,300, totally cool with that in cash.
Do you think they're waiting for their RB1 to come back, Marshawn Lloyd?
Please, man.
For the best ball shares?
Just for those teams to move from 11th to 10th.
That's what you definitely want to like. We all do this. We talk about it where we print off our best ball rosters and show them to our spouses at the end of the year. The ones that are in 9th, 10th place, you should show them like, hey, over the last month, this team really gained a lot of momentum. And I hate this year where one of my things that I leaned into is that kind of backup running back. So like the Trey Bensons. And it's like, oh, that worked. No, it didn't. Wait a second. It could work. I feel like the overall fragility of the running back position, we're still waiting on some of the bottom dropout. It's been relatively healthy this year, aside from like Bucky and a couple other names, Hampton. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see about that. A wide receiver, we talked about Amon-Ra. I don't know if you've heard, but Rashee Rice still is targeted a ton. He has stepped out of the way. Travis Kelce's actually been really good, man. Like, he's been really solid the last couple weeks, but I like Rice a lot in this spot. We'll preview that game. If you wanted to play Gibbs and you're saying, hey, I don't want to play two Lions and drop down to Rice, I'm totally fine playing him.
Yeah, I think that's fine too. Personally, I'm finding the 300 to get Amon-Ra. If I can do that, I'm doing it. But if you have a lineup you love and you just can't fit Amon-Ra and you only have the 7,700 for Rice, I think it's fine. I mean,
a lineup, dude, my cash lineup. When have I not loved my cash lineup?
I can't wait for the text Sunday morning. You show me like the 3 teams you're looking at, and then you make the wrong choice. I will say we'll talk about Mahomes here in a minute. Like, they absolutely have to win this game. Back against the wall. Mahomes has never lost 3 regular season games in a row in his career.
You don't think they're going to trust Pacheco and Hunt and just put it in their belly?
That's exactly what I'm saying. If they're going to win this game, the best players are going to touch the ball. So would it be surprising if we look on Monday and we're like, oh, another 12 targets for Rashee Rice? Of course not. So yeah, and the way they play defense, and you kind of think about Sauce Gardner on the other side, like rarely does he travel into the slot. So they're going to do their best to get Rashee Rice off of him and kind of move him around. So yeah, I like Rice a lot this week, whether it's cash or tournaments.
In the middle range, if you wanted to play Jameson Williams as another Lion option at 5.7, Devonta Smith at 5.6, who I love this week, Wan'Dale Robinson at 5.5. All of those guys, I'm pretty interested in just making the salaries work. I do think Michael Wilson, people will go back to him. He's 4.8, so a little bit more expensive. But the best part is we know that he's probably the greatest wide receiver of all time, like this side of, I don't know, Darnell Mooney.
I would probably rank him like Jerry Rice.
Okay, that's fair.
Calvin Johnson. Then Michael Wilson.
Then Adonai Mitchell.
Exactly. Followed by Darnell Mooney. Dude, he saw 18 targets last week. Like, he's not going to leave the field. Are we going to see 18 again? Probably not. Is he going to see like 8 to 12? I think probably. So yeah, look, we've talked about it last week. I don't know how truthfully good he is, but Jacoby is elevating his teammates, man, and that's worth something, especially in this matchup where we think they're going to have to throw. So it makes me so queasy to think about playing Michael Wilson at almost 5K when you have like Devonta Smith for what, $800 more, and he's like a legit, top 15 NFL draft pick talent. But this is the state of where things are, so I think he's a pretty good play again this week. Again, it just kind of makes the other part of your lineup fit. I'm probably going to play him.
I also think we need to wait on news about Kayshon Boutte because I do think it opens up Mac Hollins as an option at 4.2 as just a cheaper guy that you want to look at. There's not a lot of great 3K options. I'm circling through right now. I'm trying to find somebody that I can just play, that I can just punt off a bridge. And it is pretty low. Can I give you a name?
Oh, please.
If you didn't want to play Wan'Dale Robinson.
I was going to say this.
And Darius Slayton is out. Our boy Isaiah Hodgins, who I feel like has been off the planet for a year.
He just signed last week.
Okay, I was like, I have no memory of him this year.
And given the state of their wide receiver room, he basically was an every down player. So, and what's funny is like he was the Giants are weird, man. Like, they always have these guys in-house that are like, they're not superstars, but like they're NFL talent that are pretty good. And they like do whatever they can to be like, you know what? Nah, we're good. So in all seriousness, like if you're stacking that game, if you need a just punt option, give me 6 to 8 points, something like that. I do think Isaiah Hodgins is viable this week.
Okay, good. I felt like it was, getting a little bit down there that I didn't want to do it. But 3,300, you could do worse. At tight end, are we going to have the same story where Trey McBride was played by 60% of the field last week in double ups? Do you think it's going to be the same at 6,800?
Yeah, it just, again, think about him as a wide receiver. Like, he is producing like a true wide receiver one, yet because the tight end, next to his name, we just don't get there. It's so easy to just look at box scores and say, oh, won't he do that again? He probably will. Like, the Jaguars are allowing the 6th most yards to the tight end position. They're bottom 5 in schedule adjusted points to the position when you look at fantasy points as well. Like, at some point, he'll be too expensive. I just don't know if we're there yet. So, yeah, again, that's what I was saying. Like, you're going to see Jacoby, Michael Wilson, and Trey McBride double stacks in cash games again this week. And quite frankly, I'm not sure I disagree. Trey McBride, whether it's a tight end or flex, if you wanted to run a 2 tight end lineup, I do think that's viable this week.
I made a 2 tight end lineup, whether it's your boy Kyle Pitts-Alicious or Hunter Henry. You could do that. You also, in a tournament, I think it's more of a tournament, you could talk me into Brock Wright at 3K.
Okay.
No? 83% of the snaps last week, 7 targets. Where were you last week? I know none of Jared Goff's targets outside of Jameson Williams mattered last week. Ask Amon-Ra, who caught 2 of 12 targets, but he's on the field.
Kyle, you're 1 week too early, dude. Okay, we're going to play him on Thanksgiving.
That's true. We're going to talk Brock Wright a lot next week, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned. This is your week to scout him in the game because you're going to play him on Thursday. We did take an under on Brock Wright on Sunday Night Football, and I'm not going to lie. I was worried because he had, 7 targets, and a couple of those were batted at the line, so who knows how good the target would have been. But he was way more involved than I thought he would be, so we did get kind of lucky on the under. But yeah, I don't know, man. It feels fancy on this slate where you don't necessarily need it.
You don't think that's what you need? One of the finer things? Finer things club?
Just because I said that, Brock Wright is definitely going for 2 touchdowns this week.
Yeah, no, I get it. The best part about Brock Wright is he's 3K. He's a backup tight end. And if he scores, I get credit. If he doesn't do anything, no one cares. It's a great glory play.
His 2+ touchdown prop has to be great odds, whatever that is.
So run to your book?
I would. Seems like a lock to me.
All right, at defense, I'm either playing Cleveland or the Saints. One of those 2 options because Cleveland plays a quarterback named Geno Smith. Now, the Saints play a quarterback named Kirk Cousins, who, I don't know if you saw this quote, Betz, but it really pissed me off because Kirk Cousins was asked how he feels health-wise, if he feels good. He responded by saying, I'd never tell you if I didn't until after the season. Probably. What a jerk, dude. So if you're really hurt, you're not going to tell us?
What a guy. Dude, Kirk, man. Yeah, you can play the Saints. They are, what did you say they are, 2,500?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The Browns, I mean, please pray for Geno. Like, this offensive line, Myles Garrett on the other side.
Prayers up for Shadur, the boys.
I was going to say, in the same game, I do think for tournaments, the Raiders are really interesting as leverage. They're a little more expensive. They are 3,500. I don't think they're going to be played at the same rate as the Browns. If you just want to flip it and say, hey, I'll play the Raiders, I think that's interesting. I don't normally advocate for a 4K defense. I do think, maybe not in cash, but I do think in tournaments, if you wanted to spend up on the Seahawks, like I think they could actually break the slate against Cam Ward, who will not have, obviously, Calvin Ridley. Alec Imander's dealing with a hamstring injury. It's going to be a long day for the Titans. So I do think they're interesting if you wanted to spend up.
All right, let's do that thing where I press a button, we take a break, and we come right back. Dude, I'm not going to lie. Right before we recorded, I had a good day on the pickleball court, man. It was a good day.
You did?
Yeah,
Nice.
dude. It was. Emma even asked me. I came home. She goes, "How's pickleball?" I was like, "It's pretty good." It was pretty good. Like I think we played 8 games and I won 7 of them in my doubles. It was like, I mean, they were all really close. They were good, but just making sure my whoop score is up there every single day.
You're one of the true bad boys in the DFS community, Kyle.
You think so?
Oh, I know so.
Spreadsheets, I'm just trying to do my thing.
Stack Attack.
What if I told you that I went to bed at 8:15 last night?
Okay.
Speaking of bad boy life.
No, there was a night, it might have been like 2 nights ago. It was like 8:45 and like I was watching some like random Maction game for those that love college football. It was like Mac on a Tuesday night. I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm tired. I could care less about this game. I'm just going to go to bed. I was in bed by 9. It was honestly glorious. My Whoop told me it was the most I had slept in like 60 something days. And I felt great the next day.
I'm telling you, man, it's people have a fear I'm missing out. And I always feel like the opposite. Like, no, I'm like staying up late. I get there is an appeal sometimes. But then there's this other part where it's like, I could go to bed. I'm not missing out on anything. And then I wake up and I feel good. Isn't that crazy?
Sleep is low-key like one of, if not the most important things for life. So I'm team sleep.
Yeah, I mean, my best ideas either come after taking a nap or taking a shower. So you tell me.
This is great content, Kyle.
All right, the first game we're going to preview is Indianapolis at Kansas City. One of these two teams is playoff bound currently. The other one, just some scrappy team trying to make the playoffs. The Chiefs are 3.5-point home favorites in Arrowhead. The over-under is 50.5. We like both of these offenses because they can score quickly and in bunches. The Colts lead the NFL in explosive play rate, meaning plays that go for 15-plus yards, 14% of their plays, which is awesome. Kansas City, on the other end, we know that they love to throw the ball. They're number 1 in pass rate over expectation, 2nd in neutral pass rate. And Mahomes, this year at home, is averaging 260 and 2.8 passing touchdowns at home. So, a lot to like here. The Colts are coming off the bye. The Chiefs are in must-win territory. So where do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, let's start on the Chiefs side. They have to win this game, and like we talked about, if they're going to do it, in my opinion, it's going to be because of Mahomes. So I do like Mahomes a lot this week for tournaments. The pass rate has been there. Unfortunately, the results haven't been in recent weeks. But if we zoom out, it wasn't that long ago that we were like, oh, dude, the Chiefs offense, they're back, and Mahomes is crushing. So if we zoom out, we know it's still there for Mahomes. He is expensive. He's the second most expensive quarterback on DraftKings. He is a little bit further down on FanDuel, and I actually think he's going to be in play for cash on FanDuel. So maybe his roster percentage will be different across sites, but I do like Mahomes regardless. And for me, the thing that I think is really interesting about the matchup is I mentioned Sauce Gardner. I think they also get Charvarius Ward back in this game for the cornerback situation. So their corners are healthy. The way that you avoid that is the middle of the field. So I really love Rashee Rice for obvious reasons. And I actually really like Travis Kelce this week, which I came into the season thinking like, maybe he's done. It's hasn't been pretty. The efficiency's dropped off, but the matchup is there. Indy is, when they're targeted as far as tight ends against them, they are 30th in success rate. They're 26th in yards per play. They're 28th in DVOA when tight ends are targeted against them. So I do like the spot a lot for Travis Kelce. Do you think the double stack with Rashee Rice and Kelce is too expensive given Mahomes' salary?
I do think it's too expensive. Like I looked up what about Mahomes and Rice and how often have they had 50 combined points? And since the beginning of 2024, Rice had 4 games hurt, but basically since the beginning of 2024, they've only done it a third of the time. So it's an expensive stack, and it's more expensive than maybe you had Rice in the past. So I don't know if I love the triple stack. The Colts are allowing the 3rd most fantasy points above expectation to slot wide receivers. We would assume that's Rice, but obviously Kelce gets to have a lot of his matchups there in the slot. So I think I'm approaching it more as an either or because they're so expensive. And then figuring out on the Colts side, if you want to bring it back with 2 options and just saying like the Colts side also gets there, that's kind of how I'm approaching it.
I think that makes sense, especially if you play around FanDuel where you think about their salary, like Mahomes at 8,100, Rashee Rice at 8,100 as well, and then Kelsey at 6K. They have to have touchdowns, and they have to have a ceiling game to pay that off. So I think I agree with you. It's either a single stack with Mahomes with those guys, or just play one of Rice or Kelsey.
On the Colts side, I mentioned it's just hard to get there with Taylor, and I'm looking at roster percentages. He's not going to get clicked a ton, so you do have that going for you, and that always intrigues us. Like, hey, if nobody's going to play this guy. I remember a couple years ago, it was like nobody played Jonathan Taylor against the Bills, and he goes for 5 touchdowns or whatever. So, I don't know, maybe if he's under 5%, will you at least click the button just so you can feel alive? Maybe on FanDuel.
I don't know that I'm going to play him at all this week. And that's terrifying.
Just somebody that's basically setting the world on fire, coming off a bye, energized.
I mean, I am seeing 7 or 8%.
I could see it getting 5%.
Especially in small field. All right, I'm intrigued. But man, $10K. It's expensive.
Would you pay that for CMC if he was in the same game environment?
I think his projection would look better because, he's getting 7 catches a week.
What if it was
Taylor's been
Tomlinson?
Taylor's been involved in the past game, but he's not giving you McCaffrey type level. I probably wouldn't play McCaffrey either, if I'm being honest.
Okay. So I do think Alec Pierce is going to get clicked a lot. And if you looked over the last month or two and you compared him to a lot of other options, you go, man, this is a really good tag. He's at 5K. Makes sense. Kansas City has allowed a lot more explosive plays over the last month. But the way that Kansas City runs their defense, they run 2 high safety looks 56% of the time. It's the 6th highest rate in the NFL. He kind of lags way far behind Pity City. Pity City sees 27% of the team's first read target share, 2.32 yards per out run. I kind of like Pity City in this game as a simple little leverage play, and you're spending up from Pierce. So in terms of roster percentage, it's going to be very, very different. Pierce is going to be played a lot more than Pity City.
Yeah, they're tough. The roster percentages here are pretty muted, so it's a good spot to attack if you think either the Colts win this game or this one does go over the total. The tricky thing is, at 6K on DraftKings for Pittman, I prefer to play him there where it's he racked up 8 catches or something like that. It's kind of tricky. He feels a little overpriced when you start to give some to Pierce, and we know Warren is going to get his, and Downs might play a little bit more if they're trailing. And then, of course, Jonathan Taylor is the engine of the offense. So he's tricky price-wise, but like you said, that's going to keep him in check. So I don't mind it. I will say over on FanDuel, he is 6,600. I don't love the scoring system for him there, but it is, relatively speaking, a better value. So I think he's in play. It's just a price thing, that's all.
All right, what other Colts are you? Are you interested in playing Daniel Jones? Tyler Warren's obviously always in play in any format all the time. But any other interest in other Colts?
I don't really have a ton of interest in Daniel Jones personally. It's not that I don't think he can be good this week or anything. It's just there's other guys I'd rather prioritize on this slate. And could he get it done at 6,200? Sure. But at the same time, he also is one of those guys that we've kind of seen regress recently. And when I think about how he is most efficient, it's when the Colts can control the game and he can dictate, Steichen can dictate, we're going to throw, with a lead or a neutral script, not have to play from behind. And in those situations, we've seen kind of the issues with the sacks and the regression happen. So if you're going to play him as if this game is Colts winning, is how I would say it. But regardless, he's not my favorite this week, I'll be honest. There's just something about going on the road to Arrowhead. I know they've struggled recently defensively, have the Chiefs, excuse me. But I still think it's somewhat of a difficult matchup. So I'm personally going to be underweight on Daniel Jones.
Oh, man. So could you play Mahomes, Rice, and then bring it back with, you're just saying 1 Colt or 2 Colts?
Probably just 1.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm approaching this game. I do think it has a chance to go off. The line's pretty great. I'm not going to lie. 3.5 makes me want to just run away from it. 50.5 also makes me want to run away from it. So I think the Chiefs take care of business. So I think my favorite thing is to think that the Chiefs put up 27 points, plus points.
Okay. I will take Indy plus 3.5.
Big Indy guy coming off the bye.
I mean, dude, that 3.5, we know that extra point, half point is so valuable.
It's huge. I did see this stat that Danny Dimes is throwing to his first read on the highest percent of any quarterback in the NFL. Normally, I usually poo-poo on quarterbacks that do that. It was like Tua and Trevor Lawrence. That's been their stat the last couple of years. It's like, okay, you don't know where to go in your second read. I've been looking at it more as like, I think Shane Steichen just has been in his bag the entire year.
Yeah. And look, like,
you were very big on him.
Yes, I think Shane Steichen's a great coach and a great offensive mind. And I think he's done a really awesome job with Daniel Jones specifically. Like, not to take anything away from Daniel Jones, who's played great this year, but he does have limitations, and I think Steichen understands that and kind of plays into his strengths, which honestly, man, like it's so refreshing to see. I just wish NFL coaches could do that more often and self-scout and say, hey, this is what the quarterback does very well. This is what he does poorly. Let's just do the good things as much as possible, and our offense will probably be better. So yeah, Steichen's been great this year. Definitely up there in terms of offensive coach of the year, or not offensive, but coach of the year award this year. He's well deserving of that.
All right. The next game is going to be the New England Patriots at the Cincinnati Bengals. It's interesting that this line started off at around New England minus 8.5, and I am seeing New England minus 6.5. So, are people really confident that Burrow is going to play this game? I know he's been taking first-team reps. Like, are you, like, if you had to guess right now that Burrow is starting, is that what you think?
I think he does, yeah.
Wow. How does that shift the game? Like, I could give you the pros and cons of both quarterbacks, of Grandpa Joe if he plays, or Joe Burrow, their backup quarterback if he plays. So how does it shift? Does it shift this game environment to you? Because to me, it doesn't like crazy, like change things.
Well, I think for me personally, I think there's a higher ceiling on the game with Burrow back there, because Joe Flacco, for how fun it's been, largely for the last month with these kind of high-flying games where they just chuck it all over the yard, he still has, obviously, issues. He's not mobile. He will turn the ball over. You will see drives just kind of stall out. With Burrow back there, yes, his mobility will also be limited. You're going to see, like, every single snap out of shotgun to protect the toe so he doesn't have to backpedal. He's not going to scramble. But at the same time, like, he's so efficient. He gets the ball out so quickly. And obviously, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So, yeah, I think with Joe Burrow under center, even if he's, let's say, 85%, 90%, I think that elevates the game environment here. And I think it makes sense from the spread where it moved from 8.5 to 6.5. Then you tell yourself a story where it's like, okay, if the market thinks that the game should be closer to 6.5, maybe it closes 6, 5.5 if the line keeps going, then it's less likely, it's still possible, but it's less likely that the Pats just run away with this game, which is my concern on Drake May in general, is like teams have been able to just do whatever they want on Cincy, and New England's defense has played better overall in recent weeks. Could they just dominate this game? I think certainly that's possible without Joe Burrow. With Joe Burrow, I think that possibility is less likely. So I hope Burrow plays, and if he does, I think this game environment is one of the best on the slate to attack, because with Burrow, exactly where the ball is going to go. T. Higgins is going to get targeted like crazy without Jamar Chase. You could tack on a cheap option if you want, as far as Yoshi, Noah Fant. Mike Gesicki might actually play in this game as kind of a sneaky
Penn State great.
Sticky G. He might actually play in this game off IR. We'll see on that. But last year when it was like, oh, if T. Higgins or Jamar Chase are out, just play Mike Gesicki. He's in play as a dart throw this week. And then, of course, Chase Brown's, I think, pretty good chalk. So I really like this game environment a lot, because I think the uncertainty on Burrow might keep roster percentages down. And then on the other side, I think New England is going to get kind of overlooked on this slate because of pricing. We talked about Jacoby. Jackson Dart's kind of in the cash conversation. Trevor Lawrence is floating around at 5,100. Spending up on quarterback is not going to be the most popular route to go in this slate. So I do think the Patriots side is super, super interesting. And therefore, I do love this game environment.
I'm looking at roster percentages for this game. I do think, so Brown's going to get clicked a lot. I do think that people will play Diggs and Hunter Henry. So think about those. I think T. Higgins is going to get clicked. If Ramondre plays, are you still interested in Travion?
Very.
Okay. What other pieces? Like, are you looking at our boy Yoshi Voss at 4,100? I mean, what other pieces? Like, if you were stacking up the Bengals side, you'd be doing a double stack, and are you saying I'm going to be playing Joe Chase Brown and T. Higgins together?
I think you can do that. Like I said, you could tackle on one of the tight ends. And then on the other side of the game, the players that I think are going to get a little bit overlooked, specifically at running back, if Ramondre's out, like Trayvon's going to be mega chalk, which is totally fine. The matchup's great. But I also think like there's a scenario where Ramondre plays and then projections are not going to be able to capture the range of outcomes. It's possible this is a full 50-50 split. It's also possible because of how good Trayvon has been in the last couple of weeks, Vrabel knows, look, he's more effective. He's been great. We got to keep going with this. And the matchup is unbelievable. So what if Trayvon only needs 16 touches to get home in this matchup? I mean, the Bengals have been crushed all year. So I still really like Trayvon. I actually kind of hope Ramondre plays just for roster percentages to keep him down. Ramondre's coming off a toe injury that limited him for 3 weeks. Like, I really think there's a possibility that Ramondre might only get 6, 7, 8 touches here. So my favorite way to attack it is Joe Burrow, assuming he's in, T. Higgins, and Trayvon on the other side.
Okay. I mean, I do like May. I do like the angle. I still think he's going to get clicked a lot. Him and Mahomes at the top. But yeah,
I'm seeing 8%.
I mean, for a quarterback, anybody around 8 to 10%. And then you think about it matters. Booty does matter to this game, which is crazy to say. I want to say that sentence again. Booty does matter.
Just because you wanted to say that, huh?
Where are we at with his status?
He was full on Wednesday. I haven't seen it updated on Thursday, but I assume barring a setback, he'll be out there.
Yeah. I like stacking up Drake May. I think that there's multiple options. So if you want to go May, Booty, and Henry, it's very, very cheap stack. Double stack in that direction. So I don't really care about the quarterback pricing on this one. I do think if Burrow's back, I would take the Bengals plus 6.5.
I would as well.
Okay. We're on the same page. That's good. It's probably bad, but
which means it's definitely wrong.
It's definitely not even close to being right. Let's take a break and we'll be right back. We have the Eagles. We have a team called the Cowboys. That was, man, my heart was bleeding for that team on Monday night. Now I'm kind of past them, but the line has moved, Betz. All right. It's just Philly -3, like you said, moving some lines. Over-under's now down to 47.5. It started off at 49.5. So is that a Lane Johnson injury thing and bad vibes in Philly thing?
I mean, Kyle, on Tuesday, come on. Were you listening? I said I would take the under. And I did take the under.
So
and it was an 8-unit play.
So you were the guy.
Moving the lines.
A Philly guy just moving the lines.
Gave it out to all my subscribers, $29.99 a month. Easy, I'll text it right to you. I really just think it's a result of the offense in general, has been truly miserable since they came out of the bye week. And their defense at the same time has been one of, if not the best in the league. So I just think it's a combination of those things where it's like the formula for Philadelphia is pretty obvious. And I know a lot of people are kind of pushing back on Hurts and this stuff in the media and all this FUD. And it's like at the same time, if you're Jalen Hurts and you're the coaching staff and they've been able to win games this way, not just this year, but mostly for the last 2 years in a row, and they just won a Super Bowl, why would you change it? So I think that's why the line is coming down. The other thing is we talked about on the Raiders game, just maybe the market is kind of catching up to hey, this Dallas defense is not the same, a terrible unit that it was in week 2 and 3. Yes, they're not great, but they're not 31st anymore. Maybe they're 18th in the league, So I just think the defense on Dallas is better. The defense on Philly is one of, if not the best in the league. And Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense is so conservative right now that I personally hate this game environment. I kind of think it comes in under, even at this line. And I think Philly will try to hide the concerns with Jalen Hurts and Lane Johnson and all those things and just kind of turn it into a 17-14 type of game. That's how I see it going. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I'm pretty off this game.
You mean the last 2 weeks when they won 10-7 and 16-9?
It's just art. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, Kyle.
It's basically you just watched a baseball game and it was 2-1. That's kind of what it was. It was a pitcher's duel.
It's if you like defense, I mean, watch the Eagles, man. They're crazy good. It's wild.
The Eagles wide receivers, though, will be getting clicked in this game. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. I do think this lends itself more towards Smith. Dallas runs zone, one of the highest in the league. They run cover 2 and cover 3 shells. 62% of the time on opponent dropbacks. That is the highest rate in the NFL. So just in terms of just simple 2-deep looks, a lot of the time, Devonta Smith has crushed compared to everybody else on the team. I mean, like, he's almost doubled up A.J. Brown in target share, targets per outrun, yards per outrun. He definitely has doubled him up. So I do think it lends itself more towards him. He's one of my favorite clicks of the week. I know that nobody will play Dak, though. And I'm always intrigued when I get Dak in a dome and people discount him. I'm interested.
The thing about him, though, is like it's so cost prohibitive to play because if you want Dak, you want him throwing for, 250 plus at least, a chance to hit the 300-yard bonus and at least 2 scores.
This game is expensive.
It's expensive, yeah. I mean, CeeDee Lamb is $9K on FanDuel. He's $7,900 on DraftKings. George Pickens deservedly is priced up. And then Jake Ferguson is still priced because of what he did in the first part of the year. But since Lamb returned, he's seeing just a 15% target share and his ADOT's like 5 yards. So you need Ferguson to pile up catches and fall in the end zone. Could he do it? Sure. But the pricing on Dallas is kind of prohibitive. And that's why I'm off this game is like, I just see a path where it's kind of a slog and the pricing is too expensive on the Dallas side. And then the Eagles side is carrying roster percentage for the wide receivers. So that's just why I don't get a great feeling about it. Maybe I'm wrong and it goes crazy, but if the field is going to go to it, I'm going to pivot.
It does make it hard to double stack. Like if you wanted to go Dak, Pickens, and Ferg, you need 75 plus points between those 3 guys just based on the pricing. Like Lamb, I love, and I don't think he's going to get clicked as much because he's 7,900 and because what everybody saw on Monday night was Pickens balling out. Saquon is not cheap. And with Lane Johnson, the splits are pretty clear what the team is like. So I get what you're saying. Like, I don't really know. Like, so these 2 teams played in week 1. Philly was fortunate to come out with a victory, but Javonte fell on the end zone twice. I do think he's a sneaky kind of play. If you want to play Javonte and Devonta Smith and get out of this game, I think it could work that way. I do think it's expensive if you played Saquon and CeeDee. But if you want to go that route and just play like a little correlation play, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I think if I'm going to play this game, that's personally how I'll be approaching it versus like a full game stack.
But Hurts Devonta Smith stack. I just need to say it because it doesn't work all the time, but it does work here.
Buttlicker, our prices have never been lower.
Dude, that's a cheap price tag for those 2.
On DraftKings.
Yes. No interest there.
I mean, certainly you could. If you're going to play this game, to me, how I'm playing it is Hurts to Devonta Smith. Because of the splits with the coverage and stuff like that, that's how I prefer to play it. But over on FanDuel, they looked at the DVP matchups and said, you got to pay up for Hurts. He is by far QB1 in pricing. It's just like he's got to throw for 2 and maybe get a tush push. I mean, could it happen? Yeah, of course. It's a DK only play for me. But again, like I'm seeing like 10, 11% on Hurts. And then Devonta Smith, 16, 17%. Like, I just see paths where it fails. And at that roster percentage, I'd like to come in under. So that's where I'm at.
Gotcha. I want to quickly just highlight 2 games, Jacksonville at Arizona, and then we can talk about Lions onslaught stacks. So, I don't know, like, what do you like? Jacoby's going to be played a lot. McBride's going to be played a lot. Your boy Michael Wilson is going to get played a lot. Based on that alone, that scares me off a little bit because people have been banking on this triple stack over and over and over again.
For sure. But similar setup to last week, where this is a late window game. It's a 4:05 Eastern kickoff. So if you're going to plan to stack up Jacoby with Trey McBride and maybe with one of Wilson or Dortch, understand everybody else is probably going to do the same thing, which is not necessarily wrong. Like I had a really good week last week doing this, but I played contrarian pieces early to figure out if that was viable. In other words, if you play chalk early and chalk late in the scheme, you can't really vault up the leaderboard. If you fade some high roster guys early, if you play a couple, sub 5% guys early and get information on your lineup and say, oh, those guys went off. Yeah, play Jacoby. He projects well. The matchup's there. His stacking partners are very clear, all those things. But if your contrarian guys early fail, you have to get off Jacoby Brissett. Otherwise, you're dead. So that's how I'm approaching it. Like, keep it in your back pocket. Again, it's late window. We like that for late swap. But yeah, just make sure you have options as well. If you're going to build a lineup around Jacoby, make sure that you have the appropriate salary left in your lineup to pivot to a different quarterback and pass catcher, with the way pricing works. But look, it projects well. They're cheap. They're underpriced, but the roster percentage is obviously something to consider.
Do we know if Brian Thomas Jr. is going to play?
I think he does. He was limited all 3 days last week, limited on Wednesday to start. We'll see on Thursday, Friday. But I don't know how much confidence I have in Trevor Lawrence or the way that, I know, shocking, or the way they want to play. Like, I think they've done enough self-scouting in the last, 2 months and have said to themselves, our best way to win is probably just to get the ground game going and limit Lawrence to a certain number of dropbacks, limit mistakes, and just keep us on schedule. So the pass catchers are tough, man. Like, the matchup's good. The Cardinals have a bunch of injuries in the secondary again. I could see it. It's just Lawrence, man. Like, I just don't think he's good.
It sounds like the approach of the JV football coach at your local high school. He's going like, all right, well, we just got to protect the ball. Probably going to run it 30 times. We can't let this guy air it out. Our wide receivers.
He is 5,100. Like,
yeah. I think you could play him if you want to pivot off of Jacoby in the late window. But I think this game is fine. I'm not like over the moon about it. The way I was last week where you could play, we talked about 49ers and Cardinals.
Right.
Okay. Lions on slots, though, you could talk me into this week. And we talked about even some Giants options if you wanted to go Wandale or Isaiah Hodgins. It does change things if Jackson Dart is back, which is cool. So how are you approaching Lions on slots?
Yes. Any and all. I love all these guys. We talked about both running backs. I think they're in play. I love Amon-Ra. I love Jameson Williams. Like, think about this Giants defense when they try to play man coverage on JMO across the middle of the field. Good luck. So I love JMO this week. My only concern is I think that narrative about Campbell wanting to run it up might get steamed to high heaven. So that's the thing I'm considering is like how much roster percentage here. But yes, I love the spot for all these guys. And I do think if you wanted to flip the build and say, hey, I'll play, assuming Jackson Dart is in, Dart to Wandale, Dart to Theo Johnson, one of his cheap guys, and then kind of play like two lines on the other side. I think that's pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, they're implied for 30 points here. They're back home. They're in a dome. We know the splits with Jared Goff are much better when they are at home in the dome. So I love the spot for the Lions. I'm just concerned it kind of gets steamed here a little bit.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, remember we played Lions and Commanders, and it was just like, we're going to shoot our shot at multiple Lions that week. And so I played a lot of Jameson Williams, and he had a great year, but I also played a lot of Montgomery. He was 5K that week. I think you can approach it the same way, saying, hey, I know Amon-Ra and Gibbs are going to be popular. I'm going to play one of them and then play, Jameson or Montgomery. And just kind of say, like, I'm going to eat the roster percentage on one of those guys. I know that Gibbs and Amon-Ra probably project the best on the slate, and then I'm just going to take the cheaper guys. So if you want to play Amon-Ra and Dave Montgomery together, I think that's a great way to look at that game and just say, I want two pieces. And maybe you don't even need the Giants on the other side, or maybe you play a cheap Isaiah Hodgins.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Well then, cool.
Slate Breaker of the Week.
My slate breaker this week is more of a game theory play than anything else, because we definitely did not talk about this player at all in any of our conversations this week. So when I look at the landscape of tight ends, which, I mean, who doesn't do that every single day and look at DFS roster percentage for tight ends? I see that Trey McBride is going to be clicked a ton, and it makes a ton of sense, right? He's 6,800. I see a tight end right below him, whose name is Brock Bowers, who will not get clicked nearly as much. He's probably going to end up around 10%. And Brock Bowers has shown that he can't have games where he just goes completely nuclear. I think after this past week, they do a little self-scouting and say that didn't work very well against the Cowboys. Cleveland plays man coverage 39% of the time. It's the second highest in the NFL. Bowers against man coverage 32% targets per route run. That's second among tight ends. And 38% of the first reads. That's number one among all tight ends. So I think you're going to see him in a lot of man-to-man opportunities against the Browns, and I could see him going off this week at a much lower roster percentage and could give you some leverage on Trey McBride lineups.
Could you play him with Trey McBride and just go alpha 12 personnel? I mean, imagine showing up with Trey McBride and Brock Bowers in your lineup.
I mean, if you want to have, don't talk me into a good time, man. Sounds great to me, but I think he's better as leverage.
You're going to have to play some nasties in your lineup to try to do that, which you'll probably give up some projection, but man, that sounds fun. I was kind of back and forth on a couple guys. Now that we talked through the slate and talked through a couple different options, I'm going to go with Travis Kelce. I didn't think I'd be there at the start of the season, but given the matchup and given the pass rate we're projecting for Mahomes in this game and how the Colts generally funnel targets to the middle of the field, I think Kelce is really interesting. And because, you have McBride and you have Bowers and some of the other guys on the slate, I don't think he's going to get clicked very much. So I'm going to go with Travis Kelce, the old man. Let's hope he falls in the end zone at least once.
All right, so we're going tight end. Like, are we going to play these guys together?
I mean, that does sound fun, which will be fun until about 6:30 Eastern when we're a couple hours into the game and Trey McBride has 7 catches for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. Game theory wise, I love looking at a player that's crushed for 5 weeks in a row. And we've Jacoby Brissett and Trey McBride is the lock of the week for cash lineups. It makes a ton of sense to be able to pivot in tournaments. But you know what? A lot of times the chalk just absolutely crushes. So what do we know? This year it really has. I forgot to look at the time. When is the Raiders game? That's also in the late window. I was kind of hoping you could get a Bowers early information type of play. You can play Kelce early and hope that he's low rostered. You get information there on your team.
I mean that's the key to DFS. That early information. And then you just sit there and you get super nervous around 4:00. Just incredibly nervous. Should I pivot or should I not?
It's the best.
It's really great.
Prop it like it's hot.
We have had a great season in Prop It Like It's Hot, 19-3 on the podcast. Betz, we had a really good week for the DFS pass. So every single week, we give our officials, which we notify everybody in Discord. Want to give a little update of what week 11 was like for us.
Yeah, 8-2 last week, up 5 units. That was a really good week for us. Now up to, I think, plus 12 on the year. So it's been a little bit of a rocky, up and down middle stretch of the season, but in recent weeks, we've kind of come on hot. So let's hope we can keep it going this week.
All right, so the one that I'm going to give out, I kind of teased it with Betz early in the week, and then he was like, I don't know about that. But I took it early in the week. It's Devonta Smith over 55.5 receiving yards per game. Let me make sure I get that correct.
55!
The splits I detailed in the Pace of Play article, and I do think the pass rate's going to go up. So Betz thinks that they're going to protect him and turtle up as a team. I think that they're going to be able to target Devonta Smith even more. I also don't mind over 4.5 receptions, but I like the yardage more.
Yeah, I like the yardage better too. It's a good look. It definitely makes sense. And there's also this weird cat and mouse type thing, right? Where the 1 week AJ Brown comes out and publicly talks about it. They're like, all right, 12 targets, here you go. And they force him the rock. Then he goes quiet for a week and then Smitty kind of pops up. So there is this back and forth. So I do like that call. I'm going to take an under because, well, that's what we do. I will take Sam Darnold under 19.5 completions. This is not a knock on Darnold at all. It's more just a play on game script. When you think about the spread, they're 13.5 point favorites against Cam Ward. I think we all agree the Seahawks are very, very likely to win this game. He's been under this in 5 of the 7 Seahawks wins this year. And the 2 ones that he went over, 21 completions and 22, one of those was when he completed 21 passes in that crazy Sunday night game against Washington where he completed, 18 or 19 in a row. So just kind of thinking about game script here, I'll take under 19.5. I think we're going to see a lot of Sharps and Kem Walker in the spot.
No, I like that call a lot. When we were previewing that game for the main podcast on Thursday, I was looking at the Titans side, which, by the way, they have the lowest implied total of any team of 2025. It's at 13.5 for the boys in Nashville. I just looked around on the roster and I go, gosh, is Tony Pollard the most uninspiring, dullest player in the NFL and for fantasy? I couldn't imagine clicking the button for that man. And then I was looking at the rest of the roster. I was like, what a poop-filled team.
Number 1 pick right now.
So bad, man. It's so bad. All right, one more segment.
Well, if you take a look at this, I tented my pants.
For those that are new to the podcast, I question a lot of things. Week 12, jumping in, getting all the way to the end of episode. But this is our Survivor Man segment, and it's been really, really fun this year. If you want to see more Survivor content in the future, that is something Betz and I have talked about. Like, do we add that to the DFS passes next year? More than just here's who we're taking, but like here's the lay of the land. I do think that's something that I would be interested to add this next year, just our thought process. But we've been going strong. And last week, of course, we took Cowboys, crushed it on Monday night. And because of that decision, we have saved the Ravens for this week, who are heavy 13.5-point home favorites against Tyrod Taylor, Aaron Glenn, and the Jets.
Yeah. They're going to be chalky, but for good reason. We are still monitoring. Lamar is banged up. We were a little worried about that last week, and Browns almost helped do us a favor. But they also had some other key injuries too, so we're still tracking that. But barring anything unforeseen, it will be Ravens. If you have Seahawks,
we have Seahawks in our back pocket.
They're also totally, come on. They're also totally in play. But yeah, those are the two this week. Again, I think those two teams just make so much sense. And when you're this late in the year, we've played some risky teams. These kind of double-digit 14-point favorites just feel like the way to go. Let's hope the field makes mistakes.
Yes, we're hoping that the field has used the Ravens before. Seahawks, I guess, have had opportunities as well in the past that people could have used them. But looking at our roadmap, which Betz and I have, we've laid it out so there's a lot of teams that are still left. Like we haven't used your Eagles yet. We haven't used my Falcons yet. So there's still some teams on the board.
2 elite teams still left.
We were talking about the Cardinals the other day and the Falcons, and Jason was like, man, our teams are kind of in the same spot. And I was like, we are just beta bird teams. Just weak, weak bird teams that don't even matter.
Sad, man.
It's super sad. So if you want all of our picks, dfspass.com. Our best plays article will come out on Saturday. And then next week, don't forget, our special Thanksgiving episodes. Betz, sign us off.
Yes, sir. Should be an awesome DFS slate. Good luck to everybody out there in their DFS lineups and props. And like Kyle said, next week, Thursday, Thanksgiving slate, and then the main slate right after. We're back to preview it all next week on Tuesday. We'll see you then. Have a good weekend.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at thefantasyfootballers.com.